Boom, 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 boom. Something like that. Hey, I am Thundercloud. My mum calls me, well, when she informed on me to the government, she called me James Arthur Warren, all capitals letter. I am Thundercloud, the executor and beneficiary of the trust account, Mr. James Arthur Warren, because my mum called me James. Washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. It's Chillin Tuesday. On this day, let's have some fun and linguistic games. It's the 23rd, pretty sure, 24th of September. Yeah, now I remember. Well, I was jogged by my memory on that device just there. Yeah, oh, well, maybe I need some memory. Oh my God, look in the mirror over there. I've got blue hair. No, I'm not. I'm not turning woke. No, this is not a joke. This is just a scarf for a laugh. Matcha green tea. Got a cup of matcha green tea. Matcha green tea is good for you and it's good for me. Well, so I understand, not believe, because believe would be just like based on feelings and hearsay. I understand because I read about it. It's got catechins, and theanine, well, and caffeine, of course. I need to stay up so I can get this loaded and edited and put on the YouTube for you to retube back to you. You know what I mean? Yeah, something like that. Matcha green tea, it's good for you and me. Definitely. Yeah. Disobey, that's my Disobey mug. You can get these from me here, and you can get Australian Poetry Hall of Fame mugs and t-shirts like the one I'm wearing. So check it out on the website, australianpoetryhalloffame.com.au. What have I got for you tonight? I've got an anthology of Australian verse by George Mackaness. He was the man who compiled and edited it. So it's a whole bunch of anonymous and non-anonymous poets. Yes, non-anonymous. No one, that would be. Poets whose names we know. Well, what their mums called them. I mean, Banjo's mum didn't call him Banjo, obviously. But Louisa Lawson definitely called Henry. And my mum didn't call me Thundercloud. No. I mean, she called me James, as I told you. Now, what about... Well, my mum's, she was Irish, of Irish descent. She was Australian, but her nan was also Australian, but she was of Irish descent too. So I guess I'm there of Irish descent, and and Norwegian, whatever, wherever, in the middle of nowhere, up in the north, where Santa Claus comes from. Ho ho ho. So let's go with a bit of poetry. Let's see. This is one that I wrote and I sort of finished today, and it began and I got sort of not even halfway, because then Sue came in and I went cooking, and other people came in and I was cooking more and more and more, and more came in the door. So anyway, eventually I finished it, and this is what came out of my head. Yeah. Here we go. It's rhyming, alliteration-y. That's for your information. And that's the situation that I was aiming for in the beginning. So here we go. Clary Macquarie left Pondicherry, travelled with Terry McNary of Glengarry to Derry, where he met Cherry Harry Carey. Clary met Cherry in a pub in Derry. They were very merry. When Kerry, Mary and Jerry, the three sisters Perry, burst into the pub, the Dairy Canary. Terry, hot-footed to the library, where he hid from the three sisters Perry. Where is Terry? Demanded the sisters Perry. He promised to marry sister Sherry Perry, but she loves Barry Valerie of Palmary. Not Terry, we're not scary. Where is Terry? Here, called Terry from the library, where he walked into the bar feeling quite merry. She's pregnant to Barry and left for Palmyra. We're very sorry about our sister Sherry. But Terry, we love you and we want to marry all three sisters Perry, Terry, Mary and Jerry. As triplets we practice polyamory, and we've a special treat, Terry, from the three sisters Perry. They left Clary, Macquarie and Cherry Carey in the Dairy Canary pub in Derry. They went to Father Lowry of a church in Glengarry, Father Lowry Caveri of the Immaculate Mary Contrary. Terry McNary married Carey, Mary and Jerry, now known as the Three Wives McNary. And Clary, he stayed in Derry with Cherry, bought the local ferry and planted berries and cherries on the prairie, where he became known as Cherry Clary, the strawberry, blueberry and raspberry king of Derry. It was all very extraordinary. Yeah. I know, right? Incredible. Yeah, well. All right, well, that's enough of my rant and rave about the airy fairy. I don't know if I got to add in an airy fairy. I didn't actually, but I would have loved to add the word fairy, like not ferry, like because, you know, Clary bought a ferry in, you know, wherever he was, where he was with, you know, Sherry. And but I just couldn't tie in the word fairy, but I could tie in the word fairy. So yeah, well, there we go. Okay, let's go with some poetry from this one here. That hair keeps getting stuck in that microphone there, and it makes a noise every time it hits it. Maybe I just should sit still and relax. Read poetry from back here. Okay. Chillin Tuesday. That's why we call it Chillin Tuesday, because I'm just chilling and it's Tuesday. It's not really cold today, but like chillin can mean like being relaxed. And I don't often get to relax, but I am now. I'm relaxed. So I breathe in. Doesn't help that I've got tight dacks, but I'm kind of relaxed. I have to have a man spread, I'm afraid. It's the way I'm made. Oh, here we go. Flamingos. Hold my book, have a look. An anthology of Australian verse. This first one that I'm going to read out that I just opened out of random is called The Reaper by Ethel Anderson. Under the dying sun and the moon's frail shell, the fields are clear as glass. I love them well. A horse's amber flanks shine in the grain. The wheel of the reaper cleaves a yellow lane. The reaper is ruddy gold, unearthly bright, driving an amber cloud, touched with its light. They say the earth's a stone, wrinkled and old, yet she has steeds of fire and men of gold. Ethel Anderson. Well, that's a pretty lovely poem there. What do we got to have next? Random ones tonight. Something, we've got a page falling out here. This is from the Illawarra Historical Society. How very interesting. Here we go. This is by Elsie Cole, and it's called The Gordon Statue, Spring Street, Melbourne, and it's about Adam Lindsay Gordon, the poet. The Gordon Statue, Spring Street, Melbourne. Indolent Adam Lindsay Gordon there. Apollo's brow, the poet's lip of scorn held immovable above the green lawn, stone spire rising up behind your stone chair. But in this misty light, I see the horse that proved too expensive for the poor purse. Your memory opened the light grown worse. I fancy a centaur spurning a torse, a centaur lost in the black wilderness of night, little scurries of wind in the street. Or is it your hoofs fading like the neat cadences of pastoral music's close? Your pan lurking in the green shadows, that nonchalant attitude was a pose. Elsie Cole. That's her name. All right, let's go for the next one. Random page. Here we go. Mary Durack. It's called Biography. I have defied suborning time's attempt to lure me from the perilous days I dare alone. I have outlived the tyranny of friends, the laurelled noose of popular esteem. I have long learnt that one deep breath of careless life is worth 10,000 sighs of social adulation. I shall remain unpatterned through the years, come the keen bayonet of catastrophe, springing or slow, out of the ambuscade of crafty fate. I shall be ready, and no flag of truce shall wave, only oblivion shall subdue the fortress of my will. Mary Durack. Biography, that's a lovely piece of poetry there by Mary Durack. Here we are. The next one I've got for you is by someone called Paul L. Grano. Now, I don't know any of these poets, so bear with me, and I might look them up in the back. I'm going to have a sip of my matcha green tea. It's good. It's very good. Oh, it's very tasty. Okay, jiggle about. Now, a bit about this book, an anthology of Australian verse. Look, I just lost the page that I was at, so I can't even remember the name of the last book I said now. An anthology of Australian verse chosen by George Mackaness, published by Angus and Robertson in Sydney, first published in 1946, so just after World War II. So yeah, that's about it. Now let's see if I got the poets' names in the back here. List of authors, but do they actually have an index to the first lines? Well, they got that there. Yeah, well, that's great. But do they have any information about the authors? Yeah, no, they don't at all. So really, we've just got to just go with the flow, I think, bro. Yeah. Oh, look, one of my favourite ones has just come up, and it's the very last poem here, and so I might as well do it because I love it so much. This is Judith Wright's "South of My Days." South of my days circle, part of my blood's country, rises the tableland, high, delicate outline of bony slopes wincing under winter. Low trees, blue-leaved and olive, outcropping granite. Clean, lean, hungry country, the creek leaf-silenced, willow-choked, the slope a tangle of medlar and crabapple, branched under and over, bearded with green lichen, and the old cottage lurching in for shelter. Oh, cold the black frost night, the walls draw into the fire, and the old roof cracks its joints. The slung kettle hisses a leak on the fire. Hardly to be believed that summer will turn up some time again in a wave of rambler roses. Thrust its hot face in here, give us another yarn, another story he can spin into a blanket against the winter. 70 years of stories he clutches round his bones. 70 years of summer hive in him like old honey. Drove him that year, Charleville to the Hunter. 1901 it was, and the drought beginning. Left 60 head in the McIntyre, the mud round them hardened like iron. And the yellowed boy died in the sulky, ahead with the gear. But the horse went on, stopped at the sandy camp, and waited in the evening. It was the flies we seen at first, swarming like bees. Came to the Hunter, 300 head of 1,000. Cruel to keep 'em alive. The river was dust. Mustering up the bogongs that autumn, when the blizzards came early, brought 'em down, we brought 'em down. What aren't there still? Driving for cobs on the run. Up from Tamworth, Thunderbolt at the Hungry Hill, and I gave him a wink. I wouldn't wait long, Fred, not if I was you. The troopers are just behind. Coming for that job at the Hillgrove, he went like a loony, him and his big black horse. Oh, they slide and they vanish as he shuffles the years like a pack of conjurer's cards. True or not, it's all the same. And the frost on the roof cracks like a whip, and the backlog breaks into ash. Wake, old man, this is the winter, and the yarns are ended. No one's listening. South of my day's circle, I know it dark against the stars, the high, lean country, full of old stories that still go walking in my sleep. Oh, wow. Wow. Like, I've read that many times, and that just so moves me that time, that one there. It moves me every time, but that's just such a beautiful piece of poetry. That, thank you, Judith Wright. Wow. Whoo, got tears in my eyes for that one. Ho ho, yeah, wow, ha 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 ha. I know it well. So the cold black frost night, the walls draw into the fire, and the old roof cracks its joints. The slung kettle hisses a leak on the fire. Beautiful. All right. Let's find something else for us to read, eh? All right, here we go. Where are we going? Oh, look, I've got one here from Adam Lindsay Gordon. In fact, I got two from him. The first one, called Pro Patria Australia. Strong be thy walls and mighty be thy gates, deep be thy loves and terrible thy hates, where challenge threats and sounds the battle cry, where onset thrusts and runs the conflict high. No alien foot shall tread the sacred rand, ours in thy totem, O Chiringa land. Fierce though the wolf, he shall not fiercer bite than thy great sword uplifted for the right. Free flies the flag as ever from the first. Thy destiny in liberty was nursed. Years, acolyte, shall censer swinging go, so that the world may all thy glory know. Where, like a snow, thy silver beaches shine, where spreads the fallow and the grape is wine, where thou art veiled in the green silk of trees, fail not for sorrow, falter not for ease. Suns on thee shine, and the moon's thy lantern be, so that the nations may thy glory see. When in the prime the stars together sang, God, stooping, shaped a golden boomerang. God, stooping, shaped while knelt the seraphim, thee, whom we served and serving worship him. Still as a maid and greater than a king, winds out of heaven shall thy anthems sing. Drums crescendo. Strong be thy walls, mighty be thy gates. Strong be thy walls, and mighty be thy gates. Strong be thy walls, and mighty be thy gates. Australia, Australia. Okay, yes, Adam Lindsay Gordon. Okay, that was, don't know when it was written, obviously very, very patriotic, because the very next one is called Nationality. I've grown past hate and bitterness. I see the world as one. Yet, though I can no longer hate, my son is still my son. All men at God's round table sit, and all men must be fed. But this loaf in my hand, this loaf is my son's bread. It's called Nationality. Interesting. I don't know what to think of that. Well, I've got a few more by Adam Lindsay Gordon here, but I will get a bit of matcha green tea. Matcha green tea, because as I said earlier, it's good for you and also me. It's not so hot, I can drink it quickly. Yeah, matcha green tea. Anyone would think I'm doing an ad for it. Well, it's like caffeine. I'll tell you what I mean. Well, it's got caffeine, which brings you up, but it's got catechins and theanine. And theanine stops you having the crash, which you get from a coffee. And so it sort of keeps you up, but doesn't take you right up like really fast like caffeine, like from a coffee, because it doesn't have that much in it. But it sort of keeps you, and then it just go down slowly, and it's like you don't get a crash, and you can keep going. But it's also got no milk, you don't need sugar in it or anything like that, because it's green tea. And it's really yum, and it's healthy for you, and it's green, and it's got like other like antioxidants in it too, and if you have that, you live longer. Well, that's why there's so many like centenarians in Japan, because they drink green tea instead of coffee mostly. And yeah, if you want to be a ninja like me, which I'm not, but I would like to be a ninja. Anyway, I'll keep reading some poetry. Adam Lindsay Gordon, for you, a dedication. Their rhymes rudely strung with intentless of sound and of words in the lands where bright blossoms are scentless and songless bright birds, where with fire and fierce drought on her tresses insatiable summer oppresses, sere woodlands and sad wildernesses, and faint flocks and herds, where in dreariest days when all dews end, and all winters are warm, wild winters large floodgates are loosened, and floods freed from storm, from broken up fountainheads dash on, dry deserts with long pent-up passion. Here rhyme was first framed without fashion, song shaped without form, whence gathered the locusts glad cheer up, may furnish a stave, the ring of the rowel and stirrup, the wash of a wave, the chaunt of the mart frog in rushes that chime through the pauses and hushes of nightfall, the torrent that gushes, the tempests that rave. In the deepening of dawn, when it dapples the dusk of the sky, with streaks like the reddening of apples, the ripening of rye, to eastward when cluster by cluster dim stars and dull planets that muster wax wan in a world of white lustre that spreads far and high. In the gathering of night gloom o'erhead, in the still silent change, all fire flushed when forest trees redden on slopes of the range, when the gnarled knotted trunks eucalyptian seem carved like weird columns Egyptian, with curious device, quaint inscription and hieroglyph strange. In the spring, when the wattle gold trembles twixt shadow and shine, when each dew-laden air draught resembles a long draught of wine, when the sky's line blue burnished resistance makes deeper the dreamiest distance, some songs in all hearts hath existence, such songs have been mine. Oh, I like it. And I'm really liking what I'm reading so far and of Adam Lindsay Gordon. So I'm just going to continue, just for me and also for you, because that's what we do. We do poetry on a Tuesday because that's the roll of the dice and that's how we play. And sometimes I miss it because sometimes I'm not here. Like on the first Tuesday of the month, I kind of often disappeared down to Armidale for the Armidale Poets at the bowling club there, where we sit around and share our poetry there on chairs, and it's just nice. 7 o'clock on the first Tuesday of the month at the Armidale Poetry meeting there at the bowling club. You're welcome to come. Anyway, this is Ye Wary, or it's from Ye Wary Wayfarer. Hark, the bells on distant cattle waft across the range, through the golden tufted wattle, music low and strange. Like the marriage peal of fairies comes the tinkling sound, or like chimes of sweet St. Mary's on far English ground. How my courser champs the snaffle, and with nostrils spread, snorts and scarcely seems to ruffle fern leaves with his tread. Cool and pleasant on his haunches blows the evening breeze, through the overhanging branches of the wattle trees. Onward to the southern ocean glides the breath of spring, onward with a dreamy motion I, too, glide and sing. Forward, forward, still we wander, tinted hills that lie. In the red horizon yonder is the goal so nigh. Whisper, spring wind, softly singing, whisper in my ear, respite and nepenthe bringing, Can the goal be near? Laden with the dew of vespers from the fragrant sky, in my ear the wind that whispers seems to make reply. Question not, but live and labour till yon goal be won, helping every feeble neighbour, seeking help from none. Life is mostly froth and bubble, two things stand like stone: kindness in another's trouble, courage in your own. Courage, comrades, this is certain, all is for the best. There are lights behind the curtain, gentles, let us rest. As the smoke rack veers to seaward from the ancient clay, with its moral drifting leeward, ends the wanderer's lay. Adam Lindsay Gordon. And the last one here from him, which I'm not going to do, it's long, I've done it before. It's the 6th stock rider. He goes out, he dies. It's sad, you know, I don't want to do it. I want to do something sadder that I wrote myself this week for you. So there. This one was written, inspired by the Anzacs, actually. And it's called 24 Days. And I'll find it for you. Just give me a moment. Now, 24 Days, this was inspired by 3 photographs. The first photograph was the very first day of the landing at Gallipoli, which was the 25th of April, 1915. The second photograph was some diggers in the trenches at Gallipoli. They were looking out over the thing with their guns for their Turkish enemies. The fourth photograph is a picture of an Australian soldier, Anzac spirit on show, and it's an Australian soldier's aid to a wounded Turkish soldier at Gallipoli in 1914. So this is a letter, 24 days. 19th of May, 1915. My dearest wife, 24 days it has been, and rabbits live in better holes. The news of your pregnancy has prompted me to reevaluate my goals, and I promise you to return from this killing field in the trenches. As a medic, I'm far enough away tending medical benches of men, many boys who, like our future son, never thought they would be sent as sport to die for bankers' profit sought. I miss the kookaburra's laugh. Most of all, I miss your tenderness and kiss. I hear the punctuated popping and screams of pain, not bliss. There is hopelessness, helplessness, dread, grief and despair, death, blood, pressure and destruction everywhere. Man's inhumanity to man, where if hell is life, then hell is now. It's the memories of you that are keeping me alive somehow. 24 days, my love, that as I promised you I shall not kill. An easy promise that I keep, requiring love of men and little will. And love of men I'll never know, and those men that I do forgive, I know not what difficulties they face, nor do I judge them for how they live. For you I keep my faith in peace and find strength to be brave, as those who stay true to their faith in the darkest times shall be saved. 24 days and 5 of the 6 Walker brothers lay in the ground. The youngest, Jack, will spend his remaining days hopping around. Tomorrow, there is a 1-hour ceasefire to clear, to bury the dead. And now I must go to sleep with nightmares of dead filling my head. I pray for you and our future child's health, well-being, the return of myself. Plus, I give thanks that I can ease the pain of those less fortunate than ourselves. Love, Jim. It's it really touched me when I was writing it, and yeah, if it's touched you, give it a like, give this video a like, a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, because you never know what you could get on Chillin Tuesday. Yeah. And if you like, give it a like and thumbs up. It means then these videos, these kinds of poetry videos promoting Australian poetry, go out, get recommended to other people who like poetry, and people who like poetry would like to, look at and perceive poetry videos. Sure, I'm sure they would. Yeah, because poetry's cool. You're watching it. Yeah, so click on like. And if like, click thumbs up. Yeah, it doesn't take long. And you could have been doing it while I'm blurring. Yeah, like that. Anyway, let's move on. Moving right along. Let's find another poem for you from a random person, a random poet. And Emu Parade. Well, that sounds like a interesting one. Who's the poet? T. Inglis Moore. Don't know, but T. Inglis Moore. Inglismoore. Emu Parade. Rust in the world's stained wheat, fly in the rotting fruit. White ants of greed in our faith's hollow fences, where the long drought of disbelief had dried each root. Stripped udders of the age gave no responses, till the storm crashed with tanks cataracting in flood over the broken nations, ruins spurning wider, while the mad English hurled a bomb typhooned armada home to their Ararat above the Dunkirk blood. Sharp as the gulls scream, voices of disaster cried, over the air, across the oceans calling, for help cracking the catastrophic whip impelling hearts in defeat to leap in challenged pride. To ancient honour, strength reborn in air rinsed clean by the black storm, no hate or splendour warmed our quarrel, but men in the cold grimness took the track of peril, and courage with it long burst into shoots of green. Not with enraptured banners and trumpets blown by singers of the past, the exaltations of the high dream and the white cause, gleams thrown to fire the devotees of holy missions. Not with such spurs pricking our faith we manned the guns, for we have known too many lies, too harsh betrayals. We are the unbelievers, mockers of denial. Nothing, how can't, knocks up its score of stolen runs. Yet we have torn a truth out of conspiracies that men undaunted by the odds can suffer. No faint surrender to a life on subject knees, that still in epic hazards we must offer. Hand, will, and blood to grievous fight with the strong foe. and myrmidons of darkness going out to battle. In the old ways, in evil's dragon heart to settle, the sword swung by the fighting Anzacs years ago. So, emu bobbing, bending down the line of huts, we march at morning, picking up the litter, scavengers of dead matches, unhygienic butts of cigarettes and papers in the gutter, strangling our ardour, halters of futility, drag us upon emu parades, the army wasting, prodigal hours while soldiers eager for the fighting, billions of butts in hand, bob on to victory. Was it for this we yielded unachieved careers, sniping the tangled threads half woven wrestling, with knotted loyalties and felt the burning tears wet on the cheeks of her we kissed in hustling, farewell running to leap on the last train to camp? Are we but fools who thought by bravery's redeeming to turn the breaking of herd horn defeats our flaming spirits, the frustrate victims of marital ramp? Such questionings infect the skin, sound is the core, since irking duties are but first shots ranging far from the distant target of triumphal war, ever bracketing shorter till expunging the enemy from earth with the last dooming rounds, fired from our calibrated purpose, each small action, like coral polyps, mounts towards the slow erection of reefs holding the ocean's turbulence in bounds. So here I stoop and gather my oddments, cast by hands of the camp hours, salvage struck matches from memory, pick butts of ironies from past contempts, find pictures that enjoyment etches deep on the heart, adventures in mateship shown by men removed from greed, our drinking and our singing, joy in the earth regained, fulfillment of love's longing, and wanderings that welcome shores of the unknown. T. Inglis Cross. So, yeah, that's really quite interesting. I think this next one looks very interesting too. And just by its title, it's called Laughter at King's Cross. Well, the last one was obviously, terrible about war and stuff, and about an emu parade, like, and wasting time. And stuff like that. Well, this one's about Laughter at King's Cross, and it's by Myra Morris, who is Myramorris. I don't know anything about her. I'm just reading out of this random poetry book I got out of the Australian Poetry Library and Archive here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Now, let me tell you about the Australian Poetry Library and Archive. It's a poetry library and archive of over 2,500 poetry books of Australian, mostly Australian, but also some international as well, authors, which I've collected from book fairs, and people have donated their collections and as well as their own poetry books that they've written. So if you've got a collection and you want to make sure that your poetry goes to a place where it's going to be appreciated and preserved for people to read and come up here and research poetry, and for myself to put out into YouTube, then you can send your poetry books here to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame in Guyra. And it's at 144 Bradley Street, and we really love you, all you people who have donated poetry books, and we also love you, all you people who watch our poetry shows like Wednesday Words, which is coming up tomorrow night as well. So I'm going to have to do something about this microphone down here and my beard. Tuck it in there, I don't know, but it keeps hitting the microphone and making banging noises. All right, Laughter at King's Cross by Myra Morris. In a plushed lounge at the Cross, sipping his glass of sherry, Flipping a Chesterfield holder, the bright, young chittering lecturer patterned the voiled night with his tinselling quips and conjured with Marxian cantrip our fighting world to a farce. And the guests laughed at his mockery, raced ahead. Hats off and poplars up, what a lark for a laugh. When they pulled up the tree from that jingo cenotaph in Martin Place on the victory night and baffled the cops too quick for the dead. He sipped the red sherry and I saw blood of my own brother trickling at Villa's Brett. Through the laughter, beyond the stone soldier's set face, I heard the crying of lone women rise like an angry flood. He flipped the grey ash and I saw again my mates at the AGH at Moresby, half burnt, alive, dying before they even learnt how the bomber crashed their waiting trucks and the company was wiped out in fire. Pain and Lucretian pleasure to mock the storm from the safe cliffs or to jape in a bright room at the tongueless dead in the dark at their memoried tomb. So braggart dogs will bark at the moon above them to keep their courage warm. Yeah. Whew, yes, it's like just scorning that lecturer at King's Cross there, isn't he? Yeah, well, there you go. If you pride leaves you open to scorn. So, I guess, oh gosh, yeah, you see that, this poor fella, had family that died fighting and all his brothers that, people he saw at Moresby burnt dead and what, and, there's some young chittering lecturer, with his tinselling quips conjured with Marxian cantrip, our fighting world to a farce. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's very sad because, here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, we do honour our men and women who served in our forces, as we do also honour our Aboriginal and First Nations Islanders brothers and sisters and their connection to the land here in Australia. Myra Morris. I wonder who he was. I'll have to go and look that one up and let you know one day, and I'll see if I can find some more of Myra's poetry because I really like that. Well, there is. There's one here called The Pallid Cuckoo, which I'll read to you. Cuckoo, be still. I have my work to do in the cool dairy stands, the clotted cream, clouding the shallow bowls of willow blue. Upon the table waits the silent churn to cheat me out of ways of idle dream. The brimming bucket soon must foam and spill. The golden loaves with the oven burn. Cuckoo, be still. The morning is growing old. Oh, cease your cry. Something without my being calls and calls. I need the open spaces of the sky. How can I stay between these crowding walls? How can I stay when, listening now, I see the distant hills all drowned in shadowy haze, and stretching out to blue infinity, the yellow flowered paddock slopes ablaze? When I can see the shadow Silver Creek bubbling beneath the briar-shaded bridge, old quarry holes that swift sandpipers seek, and huddling pines along the once ploughed ridge? I had forgotten that these things were near, until I heard your singing in my ear. I had forgotten that I sorrowed so. O crying voice from here and everywhere, what ails my feet that they are wild to go? What madness takes the hot, sweet morning air? 'Tis not for me a bird upon the wing that flutes above the shaken grass unfurled, but love articulate beleaguering, crying across the ruins of the world. Ah, wandering voice of love, so hard to find, calling with soft insistence from afar, now close, but out of sight, now fled behind, and now remote as some faint singing star. O bird, O love, O both, twin ecstasy, how do you tear the very heart of me? Upon one shining summer's day he came, when all the ears were yellow on the wheat. His merry tongue made music of my name. His touch upon my hand was silken sweet. And earth seemed lovelier than earth before, since I who loved found favour in his sight. Richer the colours that the parrot wore, the bloom upon the eucalypt more bright. Brown-armed he stood among the golden hay, brown-armed he walked behind his clanking team, and in the night down by the creek we lay, and watched the broken water moons a dream. And now my woman's eyes are red and sore, from staring down the path he'll take no more. Cuckoo, be still, I have my work to do, and I can only wring my hands and weep. His laughing voice is calling from the blue, where you are poised awhile twixt earth and sky. Oh, Jesus Christ, there is no love to keep. There is no love that is not ill. Oh, let me die, I only want to die. Cuckoo, be still. Well, there we go, hey? Well, a happy one in the end. Oh, dear me. Goodness gracious me. The Pallid Cuckoo. Oh, he was pallid, wasn't he? Myra Morris. That's another one by Myra. All right, fair enough. What about this one? Sea Fantasy. I hope this is a positive one. Sea Fantasy. By W. Allder Morrison. Sea Fantasy. The sea that long was faithful to the moon now has a myriad brides. Watch the warm waves wash among the rocks, the eager lift, the spreading flow that nothing blocks. Then after possession, the rhythmic recession, now swift, now slow, to the foam below. Here, the ripples and runnels, in crannies and tunnels, each sunnied cleft, each shadowed cave, a swirl, a race, the crumbling and crooning of love's embrace, the whispers and swooning of love's embrace, the gushing and gasping of love's embrace, the sigh and unclasping of love's embrace, while the water returns to the rock's base in the sea, and the rock is ravished and sated and filled with fecundity. The sea that was long faithful to the moon now has a myriad brides, the moon, no longer mistress of the sea, pulls at her lover with lamenting tides. Wow. Yeah, that was really, really sea fantasy. I could just it just had such a really nice cadence and sort of flow, like the waves. I really got into that sort of waviness of the, the sea and the waves flowing in and out, and the sound of the sea on the rocks. That something like that, you know. I get it. W. Allder Morrison. That's W with a dot. Then Allder, Allder, Morrison, Morrison. Sea fantasy. Wow, that's really, 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 really cool. And by the looks of this next one, I think this will be, it's by the same guy, W. Allder Morrison. It's going to be just as, it's sort of beautiful in its own way, different but beautiful. It's called The Hothouse Incident. What happened in the hothouse, hey? The Hothouse Incident. We walked among the cyclamens, you know, in the conservatory. They make a show. Lots of calceolarias could be seen, while tiny blue grape hyacinths stood modestly between. You like the contrast all these flowers wrought, though calceolarias looked bored, you thought. Yet we could only stop and stare, discovering so much beauty, unaware. Cyclamens now are more sophisticated. I said, to hold your glance, they know they're rated very high, but the grape hyacinths are definitely shy. Give them a kindly word as we pass by. You smiled. I felt your hand close softly over mine, like the warm tendril of a clasping vine around a friendliness, yet familiar stem, and you were the loveliest of all of them. Yeah. Wow. True. Here you are. W. Allder Morrison. All right. Well, let's end up with a classic Dog on the Tucker Box. This was the Jack Moses version of 9 Miles from Gundagai. I've done me share of shearing sheep, of driving and all that, and bogged a bullock team as well on a Murrumbidgee flat. I've seen the bullock stretch and strain and blink his bleary eye, and the dog sits on the tucker box 9 miles from Gundagai. I've been jilted, jarred and crossed in love and sandbagged in the dark, till if a mountain fell on me, I'd treat it as a lark. It's when you've got your bullocks bogged, that's the time you flog and cry, and the dog sits on the tucker box 9 miles from Gundagai. We've all got our little troubles in life's hard, thorny way. Some strike them in a motor car and others in a dray, but when your dogs and bullocks strike, it ain't no apple pie. And the dog sat on the tucker box 9 miles from Gundagai. But that's all past and dead and gone, and I've sold the team for me. And perhaps someday where I was bogged there'll be an asphalt street. The dog, well, he got a bait and thought he'd like to die, so I buried him in the tucker box 9 miles from Gundagai. There we go. That's Jack Moses' version of 9 miles from Gundagai. There's others, dog sat on the tucker box and that kind of stuff. There's actually like 3 different versions of it. And I will endeavour to read them out to you sometime in the future. All right. Let's see, what have we got going on here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame? Well, coming up in October, we've got the Trout Festival in Gyra. Yes, that's October the 4th and the 5th and the 6th and the 7th, which is the October long weekend. Yes, so there'll be the Trout Festival here in the daytime, the market on the Saturday, and in here, and then in the afternoon there's the Trout Festival after party at 2 p.m, where there'll be like DJ, dancing, karaoke, and open mic and that kind of stuff as well. Then on a Sunday morning, we've got the Trout Festival Poets Breakfast here, yes, tall fishing stories for poets. Yeah, so walk-ups and welcome. So, yeah, that's what we've got happening here at the Poetry Festival. And then in the afternoon, yes, yours truly, Thundercloud, boom, 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 washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. Yes, I am doing an Australian poetry show where I will be highlighting some of our wonderful Australian famous poets and reciting some of their stuff. Yes, so check that out, 2 o'clock on Sunday, the 6th of October. Yes, then in mid-November, we've got the Poets on the Mountain Festival, and that is including funny fishing for funny poets. There's the Australian Poetry Competition there, the writing comedy poetry competition, as also the Australian Poetry Film Competition. Check that out on Film Freeway, filmfreeway.com, Australian Poetry Film Contest and Film Festival. That is, there, you've still got time to get your entries into that for the normal entry period, which ends on the end of the month. So, yeah, it is Chillin' Tuesday on the 24th of September, and September's got 30 days. So I remember, that's how I remember. I don't know how I remember, I just know. Yeah, so you still got, what, 6 days, to get the poetry film in for the Australian Poetry Film Contest. Yes, that's right. Okay, what else have we got happening here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame? Well, then at the end of November 30th, we've got punk band coming. So I says to Mabel, yes. So I says to Mabel, and they are supported by someone who I can't remember, but it's the 30th. And check it out. Check out the events on the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame.com.au/events, the events tab, and there it's all there. And you can also find it in our events on our Facebook page, Australian Poetry Hall of Fame -Gyra. Yeah, make sure it's got the -Gyra or you're on the wrong one. Okay, now, and so with the magic of editing, I'm back, and I've got the Dog on the Tucker Box, the original song, but I've also got Bill the Bullocky one from it. Here we go. The Dog on the Tucker Box. This by Bo Yang York. As I was coming down Conroy's Gap, I heard a maiden cry, "There goes Bill the Bullocky, he's bound for Gundagai. A better poor old beggar never earned a honest crust. A better poor old beggar never drug a whip through dust. His team got bogged at the 9 Mile Creek. Bill lashed and swore and cried, if Nobby don't get me out of this, I'll tattoo his bloody eye. But Nobby strained and broke the yoke and poked out the leader's eye. Then the dog sat on the tucker box 9 miles from Gundagai. Yeah, well, there we go. So that is the Bill the Bullocky version of the Dog on the Tucker Box. But then, if we want to go back before even Jack Moses, we've got the original song, which is sort of an anonymous author because it's we just don't know. And in fact, I'm pretty sure there is a version. Yeah, and this is the one where the dog shat in the tucker box. The original song by Anonymous. I'm used to punching bullock teams across the hills and plain. I've teamed out back for 40 years through bleeding hail and rain. I've lived a lot of troubles down without a bloomin' lie, but I can't forget what happened just 5 miles from Gundagai. 'Twas getting dark, the team got bogged, the axle snapped in two. I lost me matches and me pipe, so what was I to do? The rain it was a-comin' on, and I was, and hungry too was I, and me dog shat in me tucker box 5 miles from Gundagai. Some blokes I know have stacks of luck, no matter where they fall, but there was I, Lord love a duck, no bloody luck at all. I couldn't heat a pot of tea, you'll keep me trousers dry, and me dog shat in me tucker box 5 miles from Gundagai. Now I can't forgive the bleeding team, I can't forgive the rain, I can forgive the damp and cold and go through it again. I can forgive the rotten luck, but hang me till I die. I can't forgive that bloody rotten dog 5 miles from Gundagai. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, no, that would be hard to do. That would, no, your tucker box. I don't think I'd be liking to eat my tucker if the dog did that. All right. No, poor sucker. No, I didn't say the one. No, sucker. Poor sucker. He was a sucker. Yeah. All right. Well, on Thundercloud, I'm washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. I'm very happy. I am happy and grateful. What else would I be? I've got wonderful poets to keep me like joyous and happy. I've got wonderful poets to teach me about the war and how horrible it was too. So, and I don't have to. We don't have any war in Australia at the moment. Like, how grateful should we be? Like, we've got like smartphones and like no, like if we got problems, like they're first world problems, really, aren't they? Yeah, serious. Yeah. All right. Hey, I'm Thundercloud. Washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. Thanks for joining me on Tuesday, Chillin Tuesday. Yeah, you know what my mum calls me, and I'm not saying it again. No, I will say, see you tomorrow later. See you tomorrow, later, tomorrow, later, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow for Wednesday Words. Yes, you heard. Wednesday Words. It's every Wednesday night here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, where we welcome poets to come and share their own words, or words of poets that they love, and just listen and learn and whatever, because poetry is just a thing, and it's interesting. Every time you open a book, you learn something about, and it's well written. Like, hey, but look, I'm biased because I love poetry, yeah, and I'm just amazed by it. I'm amazed by our Australian poets and international poets too. They're all good. They're all good. Yeah, lots of love. See you later, and I will speak to you next week for Chillin Tuesday. Probably, if although the first Tuesday of the month, I might be in Ramadan next week. So yeah, I may not have Chillin Tuesday next week, but I could surprise you and record it early, couldn't I? See you later. Ooh.